Okay, good morning, everyone. Let me start recording. Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Lakshmi.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jay.
Good morning. Okay, so, okay, let's recap what we had discussed yesterday. So, uh, uh, let me mute all. You can unmute yourself if you have any questions. So, yesterday we have discussed started about HDL, and we started about some initial decisions when we are trying to implement the Fusion applications, and specifically HCM module. Are we going with the coexistence model? Are we going with the full conversion? And based on that decision, we will be deciding how our integrations are getting enabled. And later that we started learning about what is HDL, how does HDL do work, and uh, the process of sending the data from HDL, sending data from our on-premise or custom application to cloud. Uh, and also we have seen for to know HDL, what we need to understand. We figured out that we have to understand the object structure and object hierarchies within the system. And then we learned that we started learning about the syntax for HCM data loader, how to send the data in a file. Okay, for that we learned these tags. For HDL structure, we'll have a metadata which identifies the business object components and attributes, typically header of HDL data file, which will contain the metadata and the object name and the attribute names. And merge typically is nothing but insert or update. It's a data line of HDL data file. So below I have an example here. If you see metadata job, I'm trying to send data for a job. Metadata job is an object, and the columns are job code, effective start date, effective end date, name, and set code. That is the metadata. And I'm sending the data line with a merge statement here, where I'm sending a data line as merge followed by the object name and followed by the data. This is the job code, effective start date, effective end date, and the name, job name, and set code is a common. So that's what I have sent in the merge. If we use delete, we can give the same statement in the with starting with delete component. And as I said, HDL won't support deletion of few objects. I will show you which objects won't get supported. And if you want to add comments in the file, like how I mentioned a comment here, comment and data for our business object job version 1 created on some date, I'm just giving a comment in my file about my data. Okay, and set is actually where we can override the default behavior of the file. Default behavior of the file means if you don't want pipe as a delimiter of each column, you can change the delimiter to something else. Or if you wanted to mention what is the escape character in any of the file, then you can use set that as by default it is actually backslash. And if you wanted to keep that escape character something else, you can keep that you can mention the escape character using the set command at the beginning of the file. Okay, so as we have this simple lion, let us try loading it quickly and see how does it work. So I'm just copying this file. Okay, and I'm keeping it here. So I'm just changing for job version created on, I'm going to say today's date. It's optional. If you wanted to mention, you can mention it, else you no need to mention it. So I'm just mentioning April 2018, and I'm going to mention job code as something like I'm going to keep the metadata as the same. So how do we define these metadata columns? Based on the object. In the object, we have seen what is the mandatory columns and what is the optional columns there. Based on that, we define which columns has to be sent, and I decided to send these columns: job code, effective start date, effective end date, name, and set code. So I'm going to send data for that. For that, I'm going to keep merge, means I'm going to update and insert data for the object job, and job code I'm going to give our custom job code, something like tech batch 3, let's say vice president, or CFO, chief financial officer. So I'm going to keep effective start date as like this, 9/51/01/01, or I will try to keep effective start date as of today. Maybe I created this job today. You can keep any date. You don't have any constraints. So, and end of the time, and I'm going to keep so CFO, I just mentioned like this. So what happens typically once you create the file? So yesterday I was showing typically how does the HDL will work. So what happens here, we review the business object in hierarchical shape and transform and extract the data in Fusion object, transform and extract the data in Oracle Fusion object sheet. Typically we generated the data like this. Okay, so how do we generate the data? Typically we won't keep typing like this. Typically we write a program in our source applications, maybe EBS or a PeopleSoft or any custom application, and programmatically we generate the data in this format so that it can be understandable by the Fusion applications. Okay, so that's how we will have to generate basically. So if you want an example, I think I have a sample code. So sample code. So here actually I have PL SQL script, which actually I'm pulling data from the EBS. Actually here I'm pulling data from the EBS. So it is actually query. I'm pulling data from the EBS and generating the data in this format. Basically I'm keeping the job header, metadata, and I'm going to keep the respective column names here. And after that, I'm going to that query, whatever query I have written here, and I'm going to this query here. I'm going in a for loop, and the for loop, I'm actually creating each line with mid statement and the respective data, and writing that file in the line. Sorry, a line in the file. And by executing this statement, basically I'm creating a header here, and I'm creating the data here. So with that, I will get the file in this specific format. Once I have the data in this specific format, what is the next step? So that's what here. If you go back, sorry, here. If you go back here, actually once the developer generates the data in the Fusion understandable format, in the Fusion business object format, then what typically we need to do? We need to generate the file, and you have to save it first. While saving the file, how do we need to save the file? Typically, how did we learn to save the file? If you see your initial data load, where actually we have we were trying to understand the structure of the object and object hierarchies. If I go to the initiate data load and again search for the job object, it will say that what should be the file name that you have to give for your job object. If I go to the job object and I'm just giving the job parent object data, I'm not giving any child data, and I'm only going to give only the parent object along with this attributes. From these attributes, I choose a couple of attributes, that is job code, effective start date, effective end date, name, and set code. And if you see the component details, we have given the file name should be job.dat. So I'm going to give this file name. I'm going to save it. So I'm gonna go to C drive. So I will say rainbow, and I will say batch 3, and I will try to create the file here. Use job.dat. I have done that. Okay. So once I do that, typically, okay, once I did that, it means my file got generated here. I have a job.dat. Once the file got generated, what we need to do? Once the file got generated in the Fusion understandable format, generate the zip file. It means we have to zip this file. So what I'm going to zip this file. I'm going to say this. I'm going to give today's date, and I'm going to version it. It's my version 1. Okay. So I can give any name for the zip file. You don't have any constraint, but the object in the zip file should be the right one. That is the more important thing. Based on that, the APS will be called. Okay, once I have the object got created, what I need to do, I have to send the zip file to the cloud. So as we are just at the beginning stages, how we are sending the data to the cloud, I'll be sending the data to the cloud manually. Okay, how do you send data to the cloud manually? For that, we have to go back to our data exchange here. In the data exchange, you have to go to this task pane. And here we have something called import and load data. Click on the import and load data. And here, typically, this is a console where you can monitor the status of HDL jobs. If you remember in our previous classes, when we are loading the data to spreadsheet data loader, we have created these spreadsheet data loader with these data sets actually. So we have with the spreadsheet template. If you remember, we have created a spreadsheet data loader using spreadsheet template. We have created this job template, and we tried loading the job template into the Fusion applications. Though it shows up as a spreadsheet loader internally, spreadsheet template externally. Internally, it uses the HDL engine to load data into the system. Okay, in the spreadsheet, when you're trying to load this RB job template too, internally spreadsheet will convert the data into the HDL engine object specific format and give the data to the HDL engine. HDL engine will take that and execute that. So whatever data you are seeing here, it is actually came from the spreadsheet template. There should be something else like test data set 1, test data set 2, something like that. These data sets also we created in the spreadsheet templates. Okay. Right. Anyway, so in our case, we created the file. So we need to import the file into this Fusion applications. Okay. So how do we do that? With this import file, there are two options here: import file and import local file. If we click on import file, it looks for the file in the Fusion application itself. It will look for the file in the web content server of the Fusion applications, or it looks for the universal content manager. Basically, web center content and universal content manager, both are actually interchangeable words. So it will look for the file in the universal content manager, but we haven't kept the file in our web center content or universal content manager. That's why the file won't be available here. But where is our file? Our file is in the local system. So I'm going to import local file, and here I'm going to browse it, and I'm going to go to RB tab 3, and it's my zip file. I'm just opening it. So here account is important. On which account you are trying to import the data? You are trying to import the data in HCM data loader import. It is the account in which you are trying to import the data, because based on this account, the respective APIs will be called. So that is more important. It will come by default here, but we talk about web services, we have to mention this account explicitly when we call from the external systems. Okay, so
can we see the directory?
Sorry,
can we say the account name as a directory? What are HCM / something?
Yes, we can see that. You can see that we have a table for that basically, but it is a very standard. For HDL, it is actually HCM data loader import, and FSCM, the structure is also same, FSCM data loader import.
No. What I understand, this is a directory. The file go and sits over there. From there, APIs will become.
Okay, when you say directory, you're talking about.
Yeah, as soon as we import this, browse this particular file, it go and sits over there. Correct.
Whenever I click on the browser, it is opening up my local file system.
Yeah. No, whenever we import or submit, the file go and sits over the directory or account, whatever account is, right?
Yes. I mean, it doesn't mean it's a directory. It's actually the account. So what actually happens is, it shows up like a directory here. Basically, it's actually a package. So HCM data loader import package is there. In that import package, based on the object, whatever we are sending here, that respective APIs will be called.
So, but this is fixed, right? We cannot change it.
No, we cannot change it. It's fixed for HCM data loader.
Okay.
I'm submitting it. So once I submit it, it will ask for the options basically. So it's typically when I submit it, it will call the import and load HCM data file program. It's a ESS program again, and this actually imports data into the stage table and optionally loads the data into the application tables. It means it is trying to import into stage table and also load the data into the application tables optionally. What do you mean by optionally? It is based on the file action. If file action is import and load, it means it'll import data into the stage tables and triggers the data to load into the application tables. But if you choose option import only, it will just import data into the stage tables and it will wait for our command to load into the base tables. Okay, so typically what happens in both the cases, we can have errors while they are loading data into the import tables or the in the stage tables. It will primarily do the syntax validation. It actually primarily do the syntax validation, and typically it's kind of a quick compilation. When we do the compilation, whatever the compilation engine will do, it will typically do the quick validation of the syntaxes, and it will do the quick validation of the data types. It do the quick validation of the length of the characters, the length of the numbers that you are sending in the respective column. It will do the high level validations, physical validations you can think of. That happens in this import only status. So I'm not going to choose import and load. For now, I'm going to choose import only. Okay. And I'm scheduling as soon as possible. And the file name is the file name that I got imported just now from my local system. Whenever you import the file from your local system, that file will be placed in the Universal Content Manager or Web Center content, and that Universal Content Manager creates a content ID for that file. That is the content ID. Universal Content, UCM is Universal Content Manager, Fusion Applications, and it is the content ID. So this content ID will be generated automatically whenever you import the file from your local system. And the action you choose importing only. For now, I'm going to choose import only to validate our syntax is right. Okay. And do we have any encryption placed on this file? As of now, I haven't placed any encryption. If you have any encryption placed on the file, then you will get this encryption keys. You have to choose. If you have any PGP keys kept on this file name, then you have to upload the PGP keys in the Fusion applications as well. And you have to mention what file encryption you are trying to apply on this file. Is it a PGP signed encryption, PGP unsigned, or PGP X509 certification key signed and unsigned? That's the list of options we have. And here actually list of additional options it will Fusion will offer. The maximum % of import errors. So till how many errors we can wait. Okay, so till we get 100% of errors, we can wait. Or sometimes if you think that if the file has 100 records, and out of that, if 40 records are failed, don't load. It means you have to give 40% here. It means whenever the number of errors in that file reaches 40%, this job will stop immediately. And the next one is delete source file. So once the job is completed, automatically delete this source file. That is the option here. If you check it, then automatically once the job completes, this one will be deleted and you can't find the UCM content ID anymore. And maximum concurrent threads for the import. So how many concurrent jobs we can trigger based on the count of the records in the file. So basically for import, by default it comes 8 threads. But typically, if your file has more number of records, and example, if your file have a 10,000 records in your file, then typically you can say that 10 threads. Each thread will have 10,000 records. And even if you're seeing the slowness in the system, you can increase the thread count more. And the number of threads you can give is between 1 to 1,000. You cannot give more than that. And maximum concurrent threads for the file transfer is as well. While transferring the file from the transferring the physical file into the stage tables. Yeah, so basically I was telling reverse, I guess. It's actually importing into the stage table. It's actually importing into the base table, the number of threads. Okay. So in this case, I'm choosing import only, and I'm going to submit it.
Lakshmi? delete source file is, it will delete from here?
No, it delete from the web center content. It won't delete from a local file system.
So, okay. If we keep the file, we need to uncheck, right?
Yes, if you keep the file, we need to uncheck it. That's true.
File section, we have 4 different types are there. So Vision supports only these 4 types of only
encryption keys.
Yeah, whatever files are coming encrypted with the 4 different types of these only support.
Correct. So basically, by default, you can send the encryptions only with that PGP and PGP certifications. And if your company was following any other specific procedures or specific certifications, then you have to check with Oracle if Oracle is supporting those certifications. If Oracle supports it, then you can send that details to Oracle. Then Oracle will enable it for our instance alone.
Okay. So these 4 already pre-installed.
It's already there by default. Yes. Okay. So if you see here, the first record is the job import. If you see, this is the dashboard where actually it will say whenever I submit the job, based on the file what I have given, that file name will become the dataset name. It is a dataset name now, and the content ID. It will actually have the 1, 2, 3, 4 sections here. In this section, section 1 actually see the progress of the whole objects. So it will say that what is the import status and what is the load status. If any error messages comes up, what are the error messages, and what is the percentage of the import. Messages, and import comes into the import physical rows. This actually there is something called imported physical rows. So imported physical rows, nothing but number of lines in your file. Okay. So based on the number of files in your file, it will say how many number of lines are there in your file. In our case, we have 1 line, and it will say that 1 line is completed to load into the stage table. If it is failed, then it will come as fail here. And it will also mention if the data is loaded into the base table, it will mention how much data is loaded into the base table. As of now, we haven't loaded anything here. It is 0. And all these 3 things comes into the objects. So what is object? Object nothing but once that the physical lines of the rows got imported into the stage tables, next step is to send from the stage tables to the base tables. While sending stage table to the base tables, typically at that point of time, Oracle will apply the conceptual binding, or Oracle will Oracle will create the objects basically. Basically, how many objects you are trying to send here. Okay, so if you are sending a child parent object and child object, it will identify that you have sent 2 objects. Or if you are sending for the jobs, basically, if you are sending jobs, basically you are sending 1,000 rows. It will identify 1,000 objects basically. So and previously I was saying that if you send a child record, example for this one, if you send a child record like job grade like this, okay, and you are sending job grade for the same job, example I'm saying, if you send the job grade for the same job, then job grade will become the child for the job. In that case, this thing will be considered as 1 object. Okay, but if you send another job line like this, then we'll treat everything as an independent object, and we'll treat it as we have sent 4 objects basically. Anyway, we're going to see that in the next example. So once we send that, it will identify how many objects are sent in the file and how many are pending to load. The one is pending to load into the base table, and nothing is complete yet, nothing is failed yet, and nothing is corrected yet. What is mean by correction? Sometimes what happens when any errors in the line, the physical line in the file, we have provision to correct the error record in the same screen. I'll show you how we can do that. When we do that correction, then automatically the correction count will show up here. And the last one is the last updated timestamp on this data set. Okay, so when you click on the data set, at the bottom of it, it will show here for this data set how many business objects are there. So imported physical rows are 1 and objects is 1. It's pending 1, and it is a place where you can kickstart the load process. Here load button is there. If you click on the load, then automatically it will try to move the data from the stage tables to the base tables. So it is kickstarting a process name called load business object, and the business object name came as job automatically here. How the job name came automatically here? Because that is the name we have given for the file in our data set, right? And it is loading a valid business object data from stage table into the application tables. Okay, and the maximum number of threads here is 8, and maximum percentage of load address is 100, and I'm trying to submit it. Okay, so yeah, now you can keep refreshing it. So it will say the status. So it is in progress now. Previously it was, previously the status was something like this. It means it was not processed. Now after, as it is processing, it is in progress. If it is successful, a check mark will come. If it is failed, a cross mark will come. If a cross mark comes, automatically a chart window opens up in the messages saying that these many errors are there in your file. So let's see. Yeah, now it is successful. It is saying that one record got loaded into the system. So if you go back to the work structures and verify for the job code that you are trying to send here, so it is the job code. You go to manage jobs. There if you can search for the job code, and you can find the job which was sent from the HCM data loader. So it is the job that created into the system automatically based on the data that we have sent. So it is a quick example of how the HCM data loader will work, but we haven't gone into the fundamentals of the HCM data loader functionality yet, and that's what we're going to discuss now. This is the data we have. Okay. Now let us keep talking about the remaining functionalities of HCM data loader.
Lakshmi, for failed jobs, you have a message, right? Is it similar to kind of a log file, or
it's not a log file? So what happens? So if we go to the data exchange, we will make sure one of our example will error out so that we can see that.
Just we see sometime back.
Yeah, we can create. We are going to create many examples. Example, this one got errored out. So if you click on this messages, it will open up another window saying what is the error message is. It will say that.
That's it.
So typically for that business object, what is the error message? Typically, if you click on that number of messages again, it will give in detail information about that file line. So if it is a data set I have sent, and in that data set, it was this job data record got failed. That file got failed. In that file, how many lines you have sent? I have sent, yeah, in that line 5 got failed. So if you see that line 5 got failed, and this is the line which having that issue, and it is the issue this line is having. That's what it's saying that because in job data we have many lines. Out of that many lines, line 5 is failed, and this is the line which got failed, and it is the error message for that. Okay, we will generate some errors, don't worry. So we're going to see that. Okay, so you have seen the basics, and we are going to see this example in a while. I will keep it on hold. Let's try to cover some more fundamentals and come back here. Typically is another example where actually we do it very frequently in most of our systems, because when we load employees information into the Fusion applications, typically what we have to do, we have to create user accounts for those employees. Typically, what is the user account? Are we going to take the user account created by the Fusion applications by default, or you want to assign the username of what your company has created in your EAD user account or in your Active Directory? Typically, most of companies prefer to use the same username what they have created in their Active Directories. If you want to load those usernames into the Fusion applications, typically you have to assign the username to the respective employee number in the Fusion application, or you want to change the username of an employee in the Fusion application. How do you do that? This is another example where actually you can send the user data. Example, you can give the person number and username, then automatically the HDL will update the username of the employee based on the person number. Typically, you have provision to assign the role to the user using user role child object basically, and here you can assign what for this person number I want to assign this role name, and what I want to do, I want to add. Okay, I will come across this again. Okay, let's try to complete the fundamentals syntaxes, and then we will come back to this example again. I will try to load the data. Okay, right, so this is actually some documentation where you can get the information. Like yesterday I was showing some spreadsheets like Java spreadsheet, a worker spreadsheet, where actually you can go and get the details, where it will have the more information about each object, attributes of each object, and child objects of the parent object, and attributes of child object, all those things. And also there's another thing called another useful link. Basically here we can get the documentation to load the data of each and every individual business object. If you want to load the job object into the Fusion application, how to follow the steps. Or if you want to load the user accounts into the Fusion application, what are the steps to follow? For each and every object, they have given a documentation in this document ID. You can go through that. One example is, so this is one example where loading work structures using HCM data loader. Basically, it will say that how to load. We have many objects like location. To load location data into the system, what are the considerations? To locate grade data into the system, what are the considerations? For each object, do we have deletion support for that? For location, do you have the deletion support? For grade, do you have the deletion support? For each, it has more details. Till now, I have shown two sources. One source is to go to the data exchange and initiate data load. Second source, I have shown how to go to second source. I have shown going to the Excel sheets like this, where actually you can in the Excel sheets also you can see the information. And the third source is this Excel sheet where we can see the information of each and every attribute. And third source is to this PDF files, which will give in detail of each and every object, how to load, how to prepare, what kind of errors we might encounter in each object, and what are the deletion supports available for that specific object or not. Okay, you can use this documentation as well, which I have documented here. You can refer this one to download that those details. Okay, right. Coming to the data, how we have to give data in the HCM data loader. What are the number format and what is the date format? Typically, number format can be decimal only. So no currency symbols, no thousand separators, no scientific notations. You have to give a plain number format. If you don't follow this specific format, it will error out. And similarly, date and time format is strictly you have to give the date format in this YYY/MM/DD. If you change the date format, it will error out. So make sure the HDL will date format is in this syntax way, and also for the timestamp, you have to give the data in YYY, MMDD, and 24-hour format, minutes and seconds. So this is the way you have to give the data in the HCM data loader. Okay, that is the reason if you see my previous file, I have given the file format in this way: YYY, MMDD, YYY/MM/DD. It is the format you have to give. If you fail to give it, it is going to throw the error. Okay. And same as if you want to give hours, minutes, and seconds, give in this 24-hour format. Okay. And next, what about you wanted to use the escape characters in your file? Okay. Example. Let us take in this case. Let me take this example. So I'm giving some employee number. So I'm going to I have this data. So example, in my username, I wanted to give my username as like JRobert or Robert Pipe John, like this. This is what I wanted to give as a username, but whenever delimited pipe is there in my record, then automatically HDL engine will treat that field as one as the next column value. But if this case there are 4 columns at the top, in this case we have 5 columns at the bottom, automatically this record will fail. Then we have to tell to the HDL engine that don't treat this one as a delimiter, treat it as a character which is included as part of this string. In that case, you have to give the backslash. Just to give the backslash here, just backslash here, then the system will automatically understand that anything followed by the backslash should not be considered as the HDL engine specific character. So that's how we have to give. Okay. Similarly, if you wanted to enter, example, let us say case where you, while entering the address, okay, so address line 1, you wanted to enter address line 1 as MG Road, enter Bangalore. Okay, how do you say that? How do you mention the enter in your HDL? In that case, if you say /n, system will automatically understand that you are trying to enter the data as MG Road, enter Bangalore. Then it will identify that and enter the data into the application like that. Okay, then it will come like this. MG Road, at the bottom, Bangalore will come. Okay, so we'll identify. So these are some reserved characters. And there is something else called retaining existing values. Okay, so what I'm going to do, what do you mean by existing values? Let us see that, and then we will execute it and see that. Okay, so now, example, I have a job record here. If you see that metadata job, effective start date, effective end date, attribute 1 is sent as W, attribute 2 sent as X. Okay, now from 1950-11 to 2012-34, I have attribute 1 as W, 2 as X. Okay, and after that maybe in 2012 6/2 onwards, for the same job, I don't want to send attribute 1. I want to leave it as a blank, and I want to change attribute 2 to Y. It is my intention. Okay, so let me have this practical example. You'll understand that. I'm going to keep this a while, and I'm trying to prepare something like this. So what I'm trying to do, okay, let us think of initially I'm sending this record to the system. Okay, so initially I send this record to the system. I sent for this job code test 3. For full-time, part-time, I sent as full-time. For regular, temporary, I sent as regular. Okay, and this is how I have given. And after a week, what happened in my company? This job is no more a full-time job. This job became a this job no more a full-time job. This job can be full-time or part-time. This job can be anything. Okay, in that case, what I wanted to do, I don't want to keep restricted by full-time or part-time. I just want to send as a blank. Okay, if I send a record like this, okay, I send this record on today, and after a month I send this record. Okay, so initially I'm sending the full-time, part-time as full-time, and after a month I decided that this job is no more a full-time job or a part-time job. In place of this column, I don't want to make it as full-time or part-time. I just want to make it a blank. Okay, and I have sent it like this, blank, and I'm going to keep regular, temporary as regular only, and send it like this. If I send data like this, then what happens in the system? Typically what happens in the system is, if you send data as a blank, it means that it will understand that you want to retain the old value only. You don't want to change it. Okay, if you send data like this, end of the day, Fusion will still show for this job code, it will still show full-time, part-time as full-time, but it won't make it, don't nullify it. It won't do because you sent it as a blank. Okay, so if you want to nullify that, then you have to mention hash null. It is very important. Okay, you should not assume that if you wanted to send data in your, if you wanted to send data, you should not assume that if you don't send the data, automatically it will become blank. It's not like that. If you want to nullify what you have sent, if you want to nullify the record what is already available in the system, then you have to mention hash null. That is very important. Else you will be having the problems. So how do we experiment that? So we have that job data already. So okay, I didn't send.
But Lakshman, usually in the data file, we are going to send mandatory columns only, right? But
mandatory columns and additional columns, right? But every client has its own requirement, right?
That part-time or full-time is a mandatory or non-mandatory because you are passing null, right?
It's not mandatory. Okay, so yeah, I will try to show that example as well. Anyway, we have this user roles. Let me save this file as well.
Hello Lakshmi, and these header columns, it should be in a sequence, or we can make it like
you can jumble it. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Yeah,
but name should be similar to the exact name with the Fusion name.
Exactly, yes, that's true. Okay, so I'm just keeping it. We are going to do that, and we're going to test the escape character, and we are also going to test the nullifying things. So let me try to cover the remaining fundamentals, and we'll practice around. Okay. So similarly, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So this is one example here. So if you wanted to nullify the attribute 1 and send as a blank, it won't nullify it. It will still show the W. Same thing in this case, X changed to Y, and after that, Y you want to nullify it, and it won't nullify. It will show as Y here. For that, if you want to retain the existing values, you can send like that. If you want to nullify that, then you have to use hash null. If you use hash null, automatically that value become the blank. And you can use hash null for string, number, data, timestamp, and anything you can use it. Okay, that is more important. Okay, and
in the data file, can we use any single code or double code?
No. If you use single quote, then if you use example, let us say here you wanted to send the job name as tech08 space/3. Okay, and if you send like this, then what happens in the system is this name will be entered as not tech08 like that. It will enter as like this.
Okay, so it will consider as total as the entire string as data.
Yes, that's true. So you should not enter single or double quotes.
So we have a restriction, then we have to pass as a hash null. So we cannot pass it as a single quotes or double quote.
No. Now, if you want to nullify it, if you double quote, then automatically, yeah, if you send as a double quote, then don't think it as a null. It will just enter as a double quote like this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's why actually I specifically mentioned these things, because initial implementations, these small things makes a huge difference. Okay, so now if you want, we know about the lookups, right? So I assume most of us are aware of the lookups. Is that a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
See, there's supposed to be an action item like yesterday were explaining. I'm not sure I missed it. Like update or
yeah, that is merge. Merge will say that insert an update, insert or update.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So,
know that yesterday.
right, Midge will say that. So basically, Midge will say that if this record is available in the system, update it. If record is not available, insert it.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So lookups. So lookups, as you know, most of us is aware of the lookups. So lookups basically what it is that lookup is actually where lookup is a different table in the system, and the table has a user interface, basically where we can enter the codes, meanings, and descriptions. And but typically in the base tables of that object, basically the codes will be inserted. But when we look at the application, based on the code, the description will show up, meaning will show up on the screen. Basically that's how it looks up. One good example is, if we go and see the, I'm just telling because some of us may not have knowledge on the lookups. So if the same thing, go to jobs. In the jobs, if I look out for any job that we have created, that is a job, job 311. So typically for that job,
Rational value must be case sensitive or
no, it's not it's not case sensitive. So let me unhighlight the flex fields. I'm going to talk about how to load the flex fields as well. So if we see that, and if I go and edit the data, there are many fields are there in any application, any user interface. Example, full-time, part-time is there. So full-time, part-time is showing full-time or part-time in the system. But how does it store the data in the table? It won't store the data as a full space time. It will store the code for this full-time. So full-time, part-time is coming from a lookup actually, where actually lookup full-time is actually a meaning. For this full-time we have a course associated with. So if I go and open, I'm opening a different window, I want to return this one, and if you go to setup and maintenance and search for that lookups task, go to that task pane, go to search, go to this search. You want to search for any object across the Oracle Fusion applications. So if it's a standard lookups, so main standard lookups. So in that lookup example, for the job, basically full-time, part-time. Full-time, part-time is actually, yeah, it doesn't mention whether it is if we go to the job structure here, job here, that is page number 39.
Lakshmi, could you please share this PDF document?
Yeah, I will share it.
Thank you.
So if I go to the job, I mean, yeah, once you, I mean, basically for beginners, people you refer this, but once you have a hands-on, then you won't look at this. But as we're all beginners, I'm just trying to show you how to prepare any file.
But Lakshmi, based on the page, we can't find the respective lookup.
Yeah, we can do, but for that, it's not straightforward like how we do in the EBS, but we have to rely on the OTBA for that. So in EBS, we have something called go to about this record, and where we can look at the table name and column name. But that flexibility is not yet offered till release 12. I'm not sure whether it is given release 13, but something we have enhancement request for that. Okay, so if you have job attributes, basically where full-time, part-time is actually having this is the lookup actually, part space, full space time. So I'm going here and I'm trying to say part space. full space time. Let me do that actually. Yeah, actually I already queried it. Part space for part underscore full underscore time. The other way to pull the data here is basically the way I do that. I go to the backend table and I know what is showing up in my front end. I know I getting a full time here. So what I will do, I go to the database. I will just go to the FND lookup values. I will say where meaning is equal to full space time. I will just give it like this. Yes, full space time. It's in small letters, I guess. So I will just go here and just go and stitch and go to data. Yeah, actually this styles got timed out, so it's not showing up. I'm just going to refresh it. Many ways actually. So either you can go and refer there, or we can go and refer the data backend. So either ways is fine. So I'm going to data source is this one and full time and going data. Basically, yeah, it will show that lookup type. There are two lookup types having this full time. One is hedged employment type. Other one is this is the lookup type. Other one is part or full time. This is the lookup type. So I'm just taking this and I'm going to search for this one. So why it is not okay, let me do like this.
Maybe it is a lookup meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, let me do that. Basically, we have two kinds of lookups, standard lookups and but both are of same meaning. Define lookups, it has three basically: standard lookups, common lookups, and set enable lookups. Common lookups is just to give the backward compatibility to the EBS, the functionality how it was used in the EBS. But most of, I mean, all the lookups what we find, it will be available in the standard lookups as well. And set enable lookups is actually where actually used for the reference set based lookups. So it's more of the functionality. So let me, I don't know why it's coming, not coming. Lookup type is this one, part underscore full underscore time. It should come. I don't see any reason why it is.
Maybe in the lookup meaning we need to give part underscore full underscore time.
Lookup type. Yeah, I was just trying to search everything. Yeah, so I will just say part. Let's see what it will pull.
Lakshmi, in Fusion, percentage value percentage will work in the search.
Yeah, it will work. But some basically beginning with percentage, most of the screens won't allow. So I would always give like this. Why? Let me see the status of this. Maybe got deactivated. Let me try the common lookups. Okay, while it is opening up, what I was trying to say is lookup will have a code and meaning. So out of that, which one we have to send in our file? So do we need to send the, for example, regular temporary is a lookup code. Do we need to send the code here or meaning here? So typically what happens is if it is Oracle given standard lookup, you can send the code and meaning. But if you have created your own user-defined lookups, you have to send the lookup code only. You should not send the meaning. As a uniform standard, typically we send lookup codes only in the wherever we need a lookup. Basically, we have to send the lookup code, and should not be the meaning. Meaning also allows, but meaning allows only for the Oracle seeded standard lookups, but if it is user-defined lookups, it won't allow the meaning basically. So just use lookup codes wherever you see the lookups in your object attributes basically. So why it's not coming up yet? Okay, so let me take this example as well, and we will keep it for us to load. I'm just taking this. So we are actually we will test the hash null as well. To test the hash null, typically what I will do, I will change this object as full-time, part-time here. So submit. I'm changing full-time, which is full-time here. But for this, we will try to send the blank in the full-time, part-time place, and we'll see how it is coming up. Okay. So get this one, RB job 311. Okay, it has the data pending approval. So approvals are not bypassed. So let me quickly bypass the approvals. Yep, many things are going on. Bear for a while. This is approvals enabled at the job screen level. So let me bypass approvals. System is very slow today. Yeah, so we got it. So I'm going to bypass the approval for create job. Currently we have the approvals enabled now. So I wanted to bypass the approval so that we can do any changes on the job screen basically. Else we have to look to whom the job got, to whom job approval went, and we have to approve on behalf of them. Instead of that, for the create job, as of now, there is some configurations are there. It was not actually bypassed. So I'm going to bypass the approval so that we can do any changes. So I'm bypassing it. Click on done. Oh, I need to bypass for edit as well. So let me bypass for edit transaction as well. I'll talk about this approvals in detail when we talk about workflows. But these workflows won't get triggered if we do it through HDL basically, because HDL is actually like inserting, deleting the data directly from the backend. It won't have any approvals in place. So HDL doesn't have any approvals in place. If you do anything from front end, only then the approvals will work. Okay, so I done that. So I'm going back and I will try to update some different job. I won't test that job because that job already been to work structures, manage jobs, and the first job we have loaded is some different job. RB Tech 3 job 2. I'm taking this job and I'm going to edit this job. I'm going to correct it. Oh, this one already has a full time. So let me send this one as a temporary as well. So review it and then submit it. Okay. So yep. Okay, so this job already has that. The job 2 already has the full-time, part-time. So yeah, it's already there. So it already has full-time, part-time. So what I will do, I will take this job code and I will take this job code with those dates and I will keep this job name. You can test double quotes as well. How does it work? And in place
might be having spaces, I think, right? There is space.
Code can have spaces, yes, because it's allowing spaces here. So I'm taking full time as I'm taking out the full time. So it means that I want to nullify this one. Let us see what does it come here. Okay. So that is one thing. And other thing we are testing, actually, we are sending the for the another job. Tech 08 test 3, some other job. Basically, we are sending the regular temporary as the lookup code. Okay, this is another example. Okay, so
we were searching sometime back for lookups, right? So what was the importance over here? So I think data import of.
So lookup actually, regular temporary or regular temporary is a lookup. Basically, it will have regular or temporary in the front end. But while sending in the HDL file, you should not send that meaning, regular, temporary, like that. We have to send the lookup codes of that meaning. So here, I'm not sending regular here. I'm sending the meaning of it. I'm not sending regular like this. What I'm doing, I'm actually sending the lookup code.
We cannot send either meaning or description, but we have to send only code.
That's the standard way of doing it. Okay, right, so I will save this job as well, job dat. So I'm going to replace it. Yeah,
you're repeating the metadata line.
Oh yes, that's wrong. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I do that, it will fail in the import itself.
Okay.
Yeah, so I will take it off. Thank you. So where is the job dat? So I'm trying to save it. Let's place it, and we have user data. It is also ready. Where we are testing the escape character, and we are also testing the hierarchy between the this user is the parent object, and user role is the child object. So how do we confirm that?
Lakshmi.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I'm logging with my user, okay, I'm going to data exchange. While I am like looking into task list, I'm unable to find the HCM data loader.
So you should have the HR integration specialist role assigned.
HR integration.
HR integration specialist role. So that's what I was telling at the beginning actually. So if you wanted to use this, you should have this required role, HCM integration specialist. Then you can see that. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Lakshmi.
Yeah, so user, if you see the user actually where we have the parent and child here. So actually I'm sending the parent and child in this user.dat. I'm sending parent and also I'm sending the child here. Okay, so what I'm trying to do for this person number 120, I'm trying to change the username here. So person number 120, what is the current username? This is a person number 120. This person number 120. Currently, the username is go to actions, click on manage user account. In person employment, click on manage user account. Currently, this person has the username as jrobots1. So for this username, what we are trying to do, we are changing the job username as robots pipe John. This is what we are trying to send to. And also what we are trying to do for this person number, we are trying to assign a role actually. So what role we are trying to assign? Copy GL financial analyst job role. Okay, let us see whether this person has this one. This person has this role already. So let me assign some different role for this person here. Okay, and also I'm saying that add or remove. Basically it means do you want to remove the role or add the role? So let's try removing the role. Okay, as it is already added, let's try to remove it. To remove it, what we need to use? So typically for that, you can go back to data exchange and then try to go to initiate data load. It's all about studying the properties of the object. Go to user.
So all parent and child objects can be in one file.
Yes, because that's what we are saying here. If you see the parent one, parent file name should be user.dot.
When child file names are same.
Yeah, child file name is also same.
So you can just add the metadata row and then keep adding more children.
Absolutely.
Different kinds of children.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
The file.
Could you please show the file again for user and user role?
Yeah. So it is user.dat file name and
no, not file name, file.
This one?
Yeah. So okay. So you are taking two metadatas, right? Metadata for user and user role. Okay.
Yes. User and child.
So if you are loading only parent data, there is no need of giving merge data again once again, right?
Yeah, if you are sending a different user again, let us say 130, then you don't have to give metadata. You can just give it like this.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a parent-child relation. Okay.
Yes, it's a child. So because that is the reason I'm able to give everything in one file.
Okay, got it.
That's we can confirm it from here. It's saying that file name user.dat and discriminator is user. So I'm going to save the user.dat and discriminator is user for the parent. And for child, same file name user.dat and discriminator is user role. That's what I have given here, user role. Okay. So I have given that. So I just wanted to know what is the, okay, it don't have that add or remove. Basically, I just try to want the keyword, whether it is remove or remove capital, remove small. It's not here. If it's not here, then typically I would try to go to my document again. So this is the document again, where it will say how to load user role with examples and the errors we can get and deletion support for that user file. And you are going to use this file irrespective of any implementation for sure. So it has the user and user role. And if you go down, it will say that add or remove role is specified to add the role, remove to remove the role for the user. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say this one as remove. Okay, it means my metadata file is ready for user.dat as well, and I also got job.dat file as well. Okay, so yeah, as well. These files won't get errored out because we are making it very right. So we will also see what happens if you error out. So maybe tomorrow we will spend time on troubleshooting alone. I mean, but I doubt if we can do that tomorrow because I have some other very important concepts to cover about keys basically. I will see if we can, I think it might extend one more day. Let's see. Okay, we have these two files ready. So what I need to do, I need to load these two files into the system. So this is my job file. So I'm going to send the job file. So I'm going to say it as 4/18/2018. I was trying to test what I'm trying to test here. I'm trying to test null values and double quotes, right? So I will just send null and double quotes. I will give version 1 because if it has any error, we need to correct it. So I'm just giving it. Similarly for user, I will need to send it to zip file. Send the zip file. So, and name it what we are trying to test here. We are trying to test parent child and escape character. Okay, so we have done two things now. Now we have to import the data into the system. Import and load data. So before importing this, let me import it and prepare the remaining files parallelly. I wanted to show some examples like how to load images, how to load documents, kind of things. Okay, so what we need to do, import local file. So import local file, browse and get the job, submit. And this time I'm trying to do import and load together. Okay, let us see where it will fail if it has any issues. Okay, and also I will try to import, click refresh, the record will show up at the top. Yeah, it is this the one? No. Yeah, it is loading up. So let me also get the user.dat file as well. Submit, and I will try to import and load both for this one as well. Okay. Let's study the properties of this one. So if you see this, okay, it is still in progress, and it will identify there are two rows are there, two records are there in the job file. Yes, there are two records are there, and both two are different objects basically because this job code is different than this object. Let us see what happens at the import status. Import is successful. Two rows got imported and identified as two objects because two are different objects, and user is still in progress. It's okay. Let's see the load status here. As load program is already kicked off, not user. So we have to select the job here and go down and refresh the job and see what is happening. It got failed here. If you see that, it is saying that one record is completed and one record is failed here. And that is what it is showing up like this. So it will automatically, the job record got failed. It got loaded, load got failed, import is successful, and it is the messages. Click on the messages. And a logical start date is required. So logical start date is required. So it is saying that for which record, if you say number of message, then it will show, if you expand this one, it will show if you see the error messages from the front end, you have to do like this. But in reality, we won't do like that. We carry the data from back end. So we are going to show that as part of the troubleshooting scenario. Okay. So it is saying that logical start date is required for RB Tech 3 job 2. So for RB Tech 3 job 2, logical start date is required. It means we have a record already existed as of the same date, probably. So I will go here and you'll see the lookup later. I will go to the work structures and I'm going to search for this job because we are trying to correct this job. So this job, so typically what happening? Yeah, so this record itself is created as of 4/11/2018 and the record is started, effective start date of the record is 4/11, job actually created as of 4/11, but we are trying to give a date which is before that. That is wrong. We have to create the date as of 4/11 or a date after that. That's what we have to do. That's why it is saying that logical start date is required. So here, if you expand this one, then here actually you can see the so here it will show all the attributes of that specific object. It will show effective end date like this. Here is effective start date. Yeah, effective start date is not showing up anywhere here, it looks like. So let's detach it. And then
Lakshmi,
it's here. Yeah. So what I will do, the two things here. Okay, yeah, go ahead with the question.
Yeah. So do we have the feasibility to correct the data here itself? And
yeah,
then
that's what I'm going to show.
Okay.
So I'm going to edit it. So it will show what fields you can edit basically. So I am going here and trying to edit this record. So what I will do, I will, difficult to work like this. So I am going to give the record as 2018-04-18 like this, and I'm going to save it.
Maybe 19 instead of maybe 18 because we have existing date as 18, so we can test with 19. I think
we create as of 11. 11.
Oh, fine then, yeah.
So I'm just giving as 418. So where is that? I just want to confirm whether the data is there or not. Yes, it is there. Okay. So I'm detaching it back, save and close. So now one record is corrected. So now click on done. It will, if I refresh it, it will say that one record is corrected here. See that? So one record is corrected. Now it will again ask us to load the data. So now I'm again kickstarting the load. So in reality, do we do like this? Not really, because we have hundreds of records. If it is 1 or 10, we can do that. In reality, we have to go back to file again, modify that, and upload the file again. That's how we have to do. So as it is only one record, I did that, but in reality, it works differently. So I'm refreshing it again.
So we can re-upload only the failed records, right?
It's our choice. We can upload the failed records. Even if you upload the same thing again, same file again, it doesn't cause any problem. It just overwrites what we have.
Will it process those records also again, or like it will ignore simply?
So if it finds the same matching attributes, basically it won't load. It will just ignore it. Engine will take care of it. Nothing to worry.
But in the real time, let us say if you are having some thousands of records or lakhs of records, means it is difficult for us to correct each and every record and upload it again, right? In real time, how we are going to do?
So in real time, basically, how does it work? Okay, it was successful. In real time, how does it work? Basically, we will have a error report in place. Whenever our job runs, our error report will tell us how many got errored out, and whatever got errored out, only the specific error records. Our code, our source code should be like that. Only for the error records, you should be able to generate a new file and send that file again to the Fusion application to load it.
So the inbuilt functionality will not identify the whatever error records or problematic records.
No. If you are sending in a file, it's a brand new data set.
No, it's okay because as we the current scenario, suppose I have thousands of records, and that only my problematic records are tier 4.
Okay.
So how can I identify this tier 4 using
so if you go to the error messages, as I have shown below before, if you click on the number of error messages, it will only show what records got errored out. In my previous case, if you see, I have sent 2 records.
Correct, yeah.
Right, it showed only the error record what got errored out, right? You can modify there if it is 1 or 10 like that. Okay.
So manual modification then, so we have to go on manual modifications.
Yeah, please remember you can do manual modifications only once import is successful. If import is not successful, then you cannot modify it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Once import is successful, it is available in the staging tables. You are modifying the staging tables. That's the meaning of it.
Okay.
Right. So job got successful and user also got successful here. So if you see the user record, now we have sent 2 records. We sent 2 physical rows, but what are the number of objects? It is only 1 object because we have a hierarchy there, parent and child. User role is a child of a user. So user is a parent, user role is a child. So this entity will be treated as a one entity. That is the reason, though it has 2 physical lines, we have only 1 object. Okay, and 1 object is completed. It's successful. Okay, so jobs got loaded. Now if we go back to the work structures and look at the jobs, so let's see our testing, how this thing came up. Our test by job 2. And also what we did, we kept it as a blank here. Initially it has a full time previously. Now we are sending is a blank. Does that nullifies or not? So let's test the both scenarios. Sorry, manage jobs. Yeah, see that job name came with double quotes now. So we didn't consider that it came as double quotes. So we should not send double quotes. And second thing, full time is not nullified. Though we are sending blank here, it didn't nullify that. It is still showing us full time. Okay. So that's the thing. And here we have sent R as the regular temporary. So R is a lookup code and it will load as the meaning of that regular. Okay, because it's the meaning of it, right? So yeah, that is what it is. And similarly, text 0 and text 3 might be created. Coming to user dat. So if you look for the username again, typically what happens is it will show up in the HCM instance. But if you go to the tool security console, the username won't get updated because the change happened only in the HCM. To sync the data from this HCM to that, typically what we need to do, we have to run that send LDAP, retrieve LDAP processes. So even if the data won't show up in main as user account, then that's what I'm gonna do. See, the data is not yet updated here. See, typically this code is still there. We are showing this job as successful, but still these changes are not get affected. Why the changes not get affected? Those data got loaded, but the data is not synced with the security console. So typically to sync the data with the security console, we have scheduled a nightly job. If you remember, we have the request set created for a LDAP, retrieve LDAP and send LDAP changes. So we have to run that job to sync the data. So if I have to go to tools, schedule processes, and I have to run that.
Lakshmi?
Uh-huh.
This person management is under HCM profile only. And we did the changes there only, right? Like whatever the...
Yes. So we did the, basically we did the data, whatever, when we, with the user account, whatever we changes we have done, basically we did at table level, basically. Not at, I won't say at HR level. Basically we did the changes at PER users table. So to sync the data from PER users table to everywhere, we have to run the LDAP process. Basically, PER users comes in the HCM domain. Yes, that's true. So to get these changes sent to the identity domain, we have to run this LDAP process. So we have a request set created already. So I'm going to run the request set. I'm not going to run the individual jobs. This is a request set we created. We created this to run daily to sync security between HR and identity domain. So I'm going to run this. It will ask for parameters for the two jobs. So I will give the default parameters and we'll run it. So we have two jobs, send pending LDAP, the first job in our parallel job, serial job set, and it will have some set of parameters. I will keep those parameters. Retrieve LDAP changes won't have any parameters. I'll just keep it like that, and I will just click on submit. Okay, so once the job completes, then the data roles will be in the roles username will get updated and roles will be in sync. So in reality, this is what happens in real production too. So as I said, if you have to sync the usernames, if your username creation happens in the Active Directory in our company, and the hiring of employee happens in the Fusion application, and if you wanted to update the username of the employee in the Fusion application, you have to send the usernames from Active Directory to the Fusion applications on daily basis or hourly basis or whatever the frequency your company decides to. And once you send the data, you have to run these two jobs. So based on how frequently you're sending data from your Active Directory to the Fusion applications, in the same frequency, you have to run these jobs to get the changes get affected. So most of the projects I do, basically I schedule, if the population of the company is more, if the number of hirings or terminations are more in the company, then typically I will schedule twice a day. And if it is less or medium, typically I schedule once a day, basically. So
similar kind of thing is there in EBS also, or it's reflected as at same time in EBS?
EBS basically we have that hourly, I think that W workflow roles and security job. I think it will be running in the background as and when user account is created in the security user screen, I guess, EBS. So I'm not sure if it is hourly or it will trigger automatically as and when user account got created and linked to the employee record. Okay, so this job is running. So once this job is completed, then you could able to see that person username change in the system.
Lakshmi, similar functionality available in finance supply chain like HDL?
Yeah, FBDA there.
It's like exactly like this.
Exactly like this, but it has many more functionalities, HDL, but FBDA is pretty standard functionalities. So,
yeah. But this is so advanced and so sophisticated.
Yes. So one day we'll get the same in FBDA as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is actually same thing. Actually, they spend a lot of energy in the HCM.
Yeah. Will you be able to share that PL/SQL code?
Oh yeah, I can do that. So it's actually attached in my document. So basically, it's when I share this one, I will share that Word document as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Lakshmi?
Okay. Yeah.
For each object, like the document you were showing, with all the details.
Uh-huh.
For job you showed. So
Correct.
for each object, it's like you have a different document, right?
Yes. For each object, we have different document. I mentioned it actually in this one. Basically, from where you can download all that documents.
This is the link for.
This is the link for the PDFs.
Okay. If I will Google it, we can download it. Right?
Yes. You should have access to the support portal. If you have access to support portal Metalink, you could able to get that basically. So
from where we go and raise the SAS and support?
Nothing. I mean, if you have access to support portal, then you could able to get it. Nothing to, no need to raise SR actually.
Okay.
So actually, I'm going to share these things with you, where actually we have all the Excel sheets and that PDF document for all the work structures and worker. Worker means loading employee and also loading the user. So I'm going to share this this folder to you all basically, so you could able to see everything actually. Okay, so I have the zip file ready. Basically, you use it to share with you all. Okay, so let's verify that the user account, and then we can wrap up the day.
Right, we are having the hierarchy data, right?
Yeah. So this is So this is the username that we got created, Robert's Pipe John. So I'll come back to you, Prem, on that. So as we get the escape character, it took pipe as a character, it got loaded, and that this role got removed now. Okay, so it got worked. So before taking the questions, so it looks like HDL is going to take few more days. Basically I wanted to show you how to load the images, how to load the documents, and I want to talk very key important concept about the keys basically, where this is a very key point where actually how the integration work and how to identify what data has to be loaded for any object. It is very key thing. So tomorrow actually first 40 minutes maybe I'll be talking about these keys only and loading data with that, and then I will try to show you how to load the advanced object like flex fields, or how to load the images, how to load documents, something like that. So once I will try to take all these things tomorrow. Once we have this, I'm not going to cover the remaining topics because more into the HR functionalities. I think you don't need to worry on that. It's fun. Because how to create employee, how to terminate employee, all those scenarios. But I'll share the document. You can refer that. So once I complete these things tomorrow, and then later that we will try to work on the automations of whatever the sending the files from the external systems to the Fusion applications, and how to retrieve the error report and how to correct it and send it back. So I will talk about the automations later to that class, and after that I will try to wrap up HDL, and we will talk about FBDI as well. So FBDI we can finish off quickly because the fundamentals are very same. When I talk about the keys, same keys will be applicable there as well, and that is actually in FBDI where Oracle has given the templates out of the box, and we have to take the templates and prepare the data as per the templates, which is much easier than this one. So we'll talk about those things later. Okay, so yeah, we can wrap up today's session. If you have any questions, you can ask me now.
Thanks, Lakshmi. It was a very good session.
Oh, thanks, Pradeep.
Hello.
Yeah.
Lakshmi is not here. So we have
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Thank you. Oh yeah, so his voice is very low. Can you speak a little louder?
You ran the LDP process last. So
Correct.
Who will create those processors auto?
We have to create that. So basically, example, we have seen loading user account and user roles account into the into the Fusion applications, right? So typically we have to decide how frequently we wanted to load that. Do you want to load every night? Then we have to schedule LDAP process every night. After the typically the schedule should be like that. Like after loading the user file, maybe an hour later or 2 hours later, schedule the LDAP process so that data will be in sync.
For scheduling LDAP, we need to require any parameters like that?
No, basically whatever. I think you missed the TSS jobs, I think, Narayana.
It's the 3 days.
Yeah.
Validation.
Right. I remember. You missed it actually. So we have created those jobs in that ESS jobs actually. So it has a predefined parameters. Basically, you can use the default parameters and run it basically. So try to see those recordings once. You will understand about those jobs. Specifically, I created a request set for those jobs. And actually, we have scheduled that job to run every night in this instance basically. If you go and see the schedule process, if you see the search and search by status as wait, so if you can search it, you can see that we have scheduled a job here which is running every night, and this is going to run tonight at 2 a.m. So this job actually, this request set has actually 2 jobs, whatever I have shown just now, and it will get executed every night to sync the roles, sync the users and roles across the system. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Lakshmi.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, actually, I'm unable to add the role, Lakshmi, for my user, that the HCM integration.
So what is your username?
rb.student7.
So why you are not able to add? So it means you don't have the, how your role got created? Who created that?
The user, yeah, can you go rb.student7.
So for the user, and you're not able to find the role?
Yes, it's keep on.
Oh yeah, you cannot add it because you don't have, do you have add role button?
Yes.
You have add role button, okay.
Yeah.
So
here I am percentage HCM I'm giving.
I mean, yeah, maybe I have maybe HR. Okay, let's do one thing. That's why we will go for Fusion Apps OER. So go to this, go to Human Resources, go to Release 12, and in the security, typically you can security reference for Human Resource Cloud, and you can say integration. Yeah, Human Capital Management Integration Specialist role. Take this one and go here.
Okay.
So it is an easy way to do that. So take this one.
Yeah. Sorry, I am searching with HCM. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I should have given the right name. So let me update my.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all about doing by
Thank
ourselves.
You,
yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Lakshmi, we are loading the user and role in a single file, right?
Correct.
So the data structure we need to be defined in a hierarchy way only. So like assume that we have 3 levels of data.
Okay.
So level 1 is user, level 2 is job, and level 3 is something else.
Okay.
So in the same format for each user we need to define, it will be like jumbling.
So we have the user role, and we have some XXX. We have three hierarchies like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, so the primary criteria is if the user account is already existing. Okay, then what you can do, then you can load the XXX record alone. You can create a user that file, and you can create the XXX record alone. Now you don't need to give the user and user role. Okay, but that is the primary condition. You should know that XXS. This record should know that this record is already there. Then you can do like this.
But how we can refer that? Okay, this respect to record is respect of this user.
Correct. That is the reason typically what people do, they will give this user record by default with a standard parameters. We know, right? It will have some user ID, some standard whatever required attributes. They'll give like that. If they are not aware of that, whatever is the primary keys, they will just give it like that.
So,
And then same thing they will do for user role at second level as well. Standard primary keys. And they will give the x-axis like this. X-axis will have all the columns, whatever you're looking for.
okay, so can we create like what? First, we can define all the three users. Under that one, we can define all three roles.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's how we need to do. Yes. So, so your user metadata, and then let us say user one metadata, and maybe you will be thinking like that.
Yeah.
Right. User role one metadata. You want to give like this, right? So no, that's not. You should not give like that. This is not the way to give the data. So typically, what you need to do, you have to give user one, user two first, and then give the user role. I mean, we can say like a user metadata, and I will call it as a data. User role metadata.
So it will take how it will take, okay, one-to-one a relationship, how it will make.
So
first user one will...
the HDL automatically maps up. It will read the metadata. It will identify this parent and this child and treat these two as one object. This identify this parent and this read. It will read the file and identify the parent and child relationship, and will treat them as the individual object. HDL has that power.
But if you take your example, no, user and job, user and user role.
Okay.
So we are using loading for the robots.
Okay.
So job, okay, adding the role of the job. So we are not providing any robot name in the user role metadata.
But we have to refer something, right? So when we say user role will have the primary key of the user.
Okay.
So, example, user one has a primary key of 100 person number. That person number has to be referred here somewhere.
Correct.
Role name. So by that primary key, it will identify the parent and child relationship.
Because I'm not seeing this identifier in the metadata which we created in the sample data. So
okay. Because I didn't talk about the keys yet.
Okay.
When I start talking about the keys, then you will know why I have given that, why not I haven't given different things. There actually I talk about the GUIDs, surrogate IDs, source keys, user keys. This will say what exactly, it will answer your questions actually. So let's hold it off till tomorrow.
Okay.
And after the tomorrow's class, you can ask the same questions if you don't understand.
Okay, Lakshmi, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, Lakshmi, thank you, Lakshmi. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, then see you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.